Okay, what's up guys, and welcome to a brand new show I'm going to be starting to do. There's going to be some mod reviews for Risk of Rain 2, and today I'm bringing you the playable clay Templar. Now all these mods are going to be brought to you by the thunderstore.io. I'm going to leave a link in the description if you want to download it. Let's get started with looking at this new survivor and what the abilities he has are. So we're going to be looking at a couple of these skills and loadouts. So first off, we're going to start with one of his passives. Certain attacks cover enemies in tar, slowing them. Essentially, your auto hits on some skills and abilities has the ability to put tar on the enemies, slowing them down, make it easier for you to kill them so they don't get too close to you. His main primary is his minigun. He revs up the minigun and fires it, dealing about 120% damage per bullet and slowing the enemy's movement while shooting. And this does have a pretty high fire rate. It's pretty much the same ability that you always die to whenever you fight a bunch of clay Templars. So we're gonna go on to his secondary, the clay bomb. Throw a clay bomb that explodes for 350% damage. Pretty self-explanatory. Then we have his original utility, which is a tar blast. Fire a close range burst of tar, knocking enemies back. It's pretty similar to Rex's utility, where he pushes people back, but we'll get back onto this one in a second. But let's finish this out with bomb barrage, which fire barrage of clay bombs, dealing out damage for each. Now, and we'll get back to why there's no numbers here also. But let's look at some of the alternate loadouts that are available for this character. So going across the top, once again, we have a alternate primary ability called Tar Rifle. This fires a rifle, dealing about 140% damage per bullet, applying tar and slowing your movement while shooting. Then next to that, we have Multi's alternate primary. The primaries that we have are Multi's railgun, and next to that we have Commando's secondary ability, the shotgun. So for secondaries, he only has one alternate, which is Multi's canister that stuns. So for the alternate utility, we have sidestep. You dash a short distance. You can dash while shooting, and it holds up to 2 charges. This is a pretty good utility. For the alternate specials, we have Fireball. Fire a barrage of 5 fireballs, dealing 250% damage. And the other alternate is Bubble Shield, which they took from the Engineer. Yep, it's the same thing, just blocks all incoming damage as long as it hits the bubble shield. So let's talk about how this character generally works and how it feels to actually play the character in this game. So essentially, this character is supposed to be a slow moving, big damage, huge fire rate monster. And while in the game, it does tend to work. You do a lot of damage with your primary minigun. But the problem I've had is that with the secondary and special, those moves never felt good enough that it would warrant you to stop shooting. Like, you were always going to be doing way more damage with your primary than anything else, that the damage output by any of your other abilities just was not worth time that it took to stop shooting and then rev up your minigun again and then start shooting. So as I went on, I just noticed it more and more. It just felt really bad. In terms of movement, he's a very slow character. Like, just off the bat, just an extremely slow character. So it's very easy for you to get surrounded very quickly. And the utility Tar Blast just does not help you at all, as it only pushes back the enemies. It doesn't push the character back like it does with Rex, where if you jump in the air and you do it, you can push yourself away from a lot of enemies. This doesn't work that way. It only pushes the enemies, so you're always going to be stuck around the same area. So even if you're being surrounded, you can just push back a certain amount, but you still have the rest of the enemies surrounding you, and you're always going to feel like you can't get away from a lot of the damage that's being thrown at you. That's why the other utility is extremely good. So sidestep with the short dashes and having 2 instances of it. Even though the cooldown's about 8 seconds, this feels way better to use, as you can actually get away from moves, you can dodge incoming lasers, you can make sure that you don't get hit by stuff as long as you time it right. This movement, it gives so much to the character in the ability to move around and dodge and keep your distance. It works really well with your character, as essentially you're just trying to get away, hunker down, and just hold your left click until everything dies. With the added slows from Tar and from your machine gun, it's very hard for them to get on you as long as you're hitting a bunch of them. It's just going to slow them down, and they're not going to be able to get to you as quickly as they normally would. So that's the whole idea of this character. For the secondary, since I'm leaving it off for a little bit because I really want to talk about Clay Bomb, because everyone knows the alternate, the blast canister from Multi. You know exactly what it does. Is the exact same. It's pretty much a carbon copy. So let's talk about this one that they created for it, the Clay Bomb. We throw a Clay Bomb that explodes, but boy did I have a lot of problems with this one. The Clay Bomb doesn't have any sort of targeting, so it's essentially where you aim is where it's not where it's gonna go, because it has its own weight to it. Like, it's kind of hard to explain, but essentially the Clay Bomb, you can feel how heavy it is when you right click, because it will instantly fall down. So it has a very low arc, so it's always going to go straight down, so you have to aim pretty high to actually get it to hit an enemy that's a little bit far away from you. And I had so much trouble trying to hit this bomb consistently because I just could not understand or feel what the arc is supposed to be like. So I was constantly missing this move. It really felt just bad. Like, if it had like canister where it shows you the arc and it shows you where it's gonna land, that makes it a lot easier to understand how to aim it, that's what makes canister feel okay, even though it has its own arc. You will always know where the arc is going to hit, so it always feels like you're doing it correctly. But with Clay Bomb, since you have no indicator of how it's gonna move and how it's gonna fall out, and it just feels inconsistent and weird and extremely heavy, and it has no distance, you just feel terrible using it, so you almost never use it because you know you're gonna miss. And then we have its Clay Bomb, but as a special, essentially, which is Bomb Barrage, where you essentially just shoot 5 Clay Bombs out in a straight line, and they all kind of like bounce forward and hit everything. So this had a much better system than the actual Clay Bomb, because this one does have targeting. So wherever you aim, it's going to automatically shoot the bombs towards that. So if you're aiming at an enemy that's really far away, it's going to arc it for you. So the initial bombs are going to fly out much higher at the perfect arc to land wherever your mouse is aiming at, which makes the move already feel way better than the actual secondary. If the secondary had the same ability where it was being aimed exactly to where your mouse was, it would feel so much better. And so the special actually feels pretty good to use. It's not too bad. Now the problem with it is that for some reason, I don't know if it's mine or if it just needs an update, the percentage values are completely messed up, which is why they show an X right now for me. So currently they just do 37 damage a hit, which as soon as you get to the second round, that is absolutely nothing. That is no damage at all. So you just don't use it because it's glitched out. It just doesn't do any damage. If it did damage, it might actually be pretty good. You could do some heavy damage with it if it has the right numbers. It could feel good enough to use over just holding down your primary, but that's a huge problem with this character in general. It's like, why stop shooting when all your moves do less damage than if you just held the button down? It's like, why bother? Now, of course, on the alternates, we have a much better version of the minigun, the Tar rifle, where it also slows you down, but the consistent fire that comes from Tar rifle is just infinitely better. This one has no accuracy drop, unlike the original primary minigun. You'll see that the circle expands out and all the bullets start flying everywhere, so you have a much shorter distance of range as to where you can hit a target accurately, compared to Tar Rifle, which just has infinite accuracy across the entire map, and you can just shoot anything without a problem. This is just a strictly better weapon. Like, it just is. You can shoot from anywhere and you can't miss. It's absolutely amazing. You know, like I said with Clay Bomb, the blast canister is infinitely better, but why use it? Just play multi. I don't want to use that. I want to use new skills, but it's just that Clay Bomb doesn't feel very good, so blast canister is infinitely better. Again, here, Tar Blast, not a very good skill. It gives you no mobility. Every character needs mobility, or else you're gonna get stuck in a corner and get surrounded. Sidestep, infinitely better. Actually gives you mobility. It works. Fireball, one that actually has damage, but again, I don't feel like it does enough damage. Now, Fireball shoots 5 fireballs in a horizontal line, and it does decent damage, but I've never seen it as enough damage to warrant me to stop shooting, because I have to rev up again. It just never feels like I should stop shooting if I want damage. Like, I'd rather just hold my left click down. So it's very weird. It's more of a situational use special where maybe you're running away or trying to get away, so you have time where you're not shooting, so you're moving away from them, so you can just turn around, pop it, and keep running. That might make more sense, but it's definitely weird. Then the last two is, of course, Multi's Railgun, which it's Multi's Railgun, and then you have the Work in Progress Shotgun, which is mostly Commando's secondary as a primary. That has currently 2 charges. It's not bad. It's Commando's shotgun. It's not bad. You lose a ton of range for big damage up close, but it's okay. Not much I can say about this right now. Still work in progress. Needs, you know, we'll see what actually happens with that if it ever gets updated. And of course, you have the alternate special Bubble Shield, which again is just Engineer's Bubble Shield, blocks all incoming damage. Almost better than having either of the 2 damage ones, as you would rather use this and just hold your left click than to use these 2 for damage. It's like, why even bother? Just put up the bubble shield and just keep shooting. Just keep shooting. But this seems like the most useful out of all the specials, is just to keep the bubble shield, because you can just keep shooting for as long as you want, and that's way more damage than anything else is gonna do. Like, overall, this character is not bad. It just really needs a lot of work on all the other abilities. I feel like the primary abilities are pretty good. It just needs more reasons to make you actually want to use the secondary and the special, because right now the damage output from them just doesn't feel good enough for you to ever actually stop shooting your primary. So you're mostly just going to be running around, finding a nice place and just holding down your primary, throwing up a bubble shield and just staying there for as long as you can, and then sidestepping whenever you need to get out of damage, and until your bubble shield comes back up, and then do it again. It's not a bad character. It's not bad, but it definitely needs a lot of work until it actually feels like a really good, solid character. Okay, guys, that's gonna be it from me and the Clay Templar. I hope you enjoyed this review. If it helped you out at all, just give me a subscribe, give me a like, and I'll see you guys next time. All the links are going to be in the description if you need them, and I'll see you around.